Hey guys, Jexie here. Welcome back to another video. So for today's video, we're going to do something a little bit different. I watched the video by the Rewired Soul titled Please Stop Enabling Taylor Nicole Dean, and I was pretty blown away just by the hypocrisy and just how dangerous it is for recovering addicts who are new in recovery to watch this type of content. I really hate talking about him and I really want to see him succeed, but seeing the damage that he's potentially doing to people who are struggling in recovery is just too much for me to watch and not say something. So I thought today we'd actually go through this video together so I can point out the things that I disagree with. As opposed to me just saying them on a video, we can actually go through each part piece by piece. Okay, so before we even start playing this video, I thought it would be interesting for you guys to see what programs like vidIQ show you. So one of the things that I'm able to see are the tags that he puts in his videos to get people to watch them. We all get to put in different words, and I know for myself, because I'm trying to attract an audience that is recovery focused, I have a lot of words besides the topic I may be discussing. I also use words like addiction recovery, finding hope in recovery, those types of things. So if you scroll down to this section right here, where it shows the tags, you'll notice that the tags being used are all different ways of the word Taylor Nicole Dean and whatever drama that surrounds her. There's nothing on here that is attracting an audience that is trying to deal with recovery related topics. It's only attracting an audience that's interested in the drama. So although I know he's changed his branding to be from a mental health channel to being a social commentary channel, when he still refers himself as caring about mental health. But just so you guys can see what a lot of people are talking about, if you look at these tags right here, there's not a single one that is in any way related to mental health. So he's not trying to attract people who are looking for help with mental health. He's looking to attract the people who are interested in the drama surrounding Taylor Nicole Dean. I think that that's important to understand so you kind of see where some of the criticism for him comes from in regards to his motives.
So yeah, we just lost Etika, and for some reason, y'all still don't get it.
Okay, so I know like we're literally in the first sentence of his video, but first of all, Etika in his relation to Taylor Nicole Dean, I hope that he gets into how those things are related. But from right off the bat, it seems like a one-liner that's meant to get people to continue to watch, even though this video has nothing to do with Etika. Etika, as you know, people know, had mental health issues. This whole video is about Taylor Nicole Dean and having a boyfriend. Now, let me make this clear. I don't know anything about Taylor Nicole Dean, nothing at all. So this video is not anything to do with Taylor Nicole Dean at all. I'm just wanting to talk about the Rewired Soul and the way that he addresses what he sees are problems in the recovery community.
What is up, everybody? This is Chris from the Rewired Soul, where we talk about the problem, but focus on the solution.
Can I just say for a second how much I hate that tagline with him where we talk about the problem and focus on the solution? Because out of all the videos I've watched, I don't think I've ever seen one where he focuses on the solution. He definitely talks about the problem. He focuses on the problem. He makes people feel bad about having a problem, but I really never seen him talk about any solution.
New to my channel, what I try to do is take different topics from the YouTube community to try to teach you, yes you, how to improve your own mental and emotional well-being. And two things I'm very passionate about are mental health and addiction recovery. So if you're into that stuff, make sure you subscribe.
Again, he talks about how he's going to help you fix your problem, which to me is crazy because, again, as people have pointed out, he doesn't have any experience to help anybody with anything. Yes, he has been in recovery, and yes, he worked as an alumni coordinator and helped book events for a rehab center, 100%. But he doesn't have any more experience than someone like me does. I too have almost the same amount of clean time as he does. I have worked with many different rehabs. I have been invited to speak at many different places regarding recovery. So his experience is not anything more than most other people who are in recovery who have the same time that he has. I would venture to say that I may even have a little bit more experience than him because I'm very active in the recovery community now and have been, whereas he's mentioned that he's not really active in the recovery community anymore. So I don't understand his desire to tell. He says it so condescendingly, like he's going to help you fix your problem, but he seems very unwilling to work on his own. That's just my perspective.
I am flabbergasted, all right? I don't know if people still use the word flabbergasted,
Yes,
but I am that. Just absolutely flabbergasted, all right? Anyways, the reason I'm making this follow-up video isn't for Taylor Nicole Dean. She's gonna do her thing. And trust me, I'm under no delusion that I'm gonna save Taylor Nicole Dean or any other addict or alcoholic out there in the world. The hard lesson that I learned when I started working at a treatment center is that I do not have the power to get people sober or keep people sober.
Okay, so I did a little Twitter video about this. That drives me nuts. When people say, I don't have the power to, that's ridiculous. So first off, what drives me nuts is he wants us to believe that he's this all-powerful, knowing person that can help everybody that watches his video come up with some type of solution. But then on the same sentence, he said that he's not powerful enough to help anybody get clean. Well, I'm sorry, you can't have it both ways. First off, you absolutely do have power to help somebody in recovery. No, you can't make somebody get clean. But being kind, being welcoming, being loving, being supportive are all things that can encourage somebody to get the help they need. If I walked into a treatment center and I was greeted with somebody who was condescending like this, who talked down to me, who looked at me like I was nothing, because the way he speaks to people is that it's as if he has so much more authority than them, as if we can't even look at the ground he walks on. If I met somebody like him when I first went into recovery, I would walk out. And that's just me. How attractive can you make recovery be if you're going to be talked down to by somebody who is all knowing? I will tell you this. I have just a little bit under 7 years clean, not much less than he does. And you will never, ever see me speak to somebody in that type of tone. To me, it's disgusting. So to say I don't have the power to get somebody clean, like no, we can't snap our fingers and get somebody clean. But you do have the power to make recovery attractive. You do have the power to make somebody feel welcoming and see a better way of life. Why would you want to get clean if he's the example of hope? I'm sorry, but why would I want to get clean if it meant I was going to be condescending and miserable and think I was better than everybody else? That, again, that's just my feelings, but I can tell you I would never speak to people in recovery as if I was so much more knowing and I had so much more experience in them. It's insulting, and it's not helpful to people who are really struggling.
Sober. It's something that people couldn't do for me either. I could not get sober and stay sober until I wanted to, and I started putting in the work, all right? But I just think it's really sad when people are like, mind your business, who cares? Like, think about that. Like, I don't get how people can even live their life like that and say, like, mind your own business, who cares? Like, what if we all did that? What if we all just turned a blind eye and we just let...
I would really like to point out here that he gets annoyed when people tell him to mind his own business. But when he's had drama pointed at him, when he's had people criticize him, he's the first one to tell people to mind their own business. And if you don't like what I have to say, then go away. So again, the hypocrisy is unreal here.
People just, oh, okay, I know you're destroying your life, but, that's none of my business. Like, are those the type of people who are just like, oh, not my job, I'm not going to do that, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, they've had to pass, like, Good Samaritan laws just so people don't idly watch as somebody gets, like, brutally beaten in public, right? Like, we had to make...
Okay, so again, we all know that the Rewired Soul is like the champion of using terms and using terminology that he just doesn't understand. The reason Good Samaritan laws began was to protect the people who did choose to help. It didn't force people to help. For example, if somebody had needed CPR, let's say I ran and I gave somebody CPR. Well, CPR very often will break a rib. Well, I give that person CPR and save their life, but now they're going to sue me for breaking their rib. That's what was happening. So they passed Good Samaritan laws, which says if you're going to help somebody, if you're trying to save a life, that you can't be sued for if there's damage done during the fact, right? Like you're pulling somebody out of a burning building and you scrape up their legs or something. They can't sue you for that. You save their lives. Good Samaritan laws were not passed to force people to help other people. That is not what the Good Samaritan law is for. And I'll post up the actual definition somewhere and I'll put links to it below. But it drives me nuts when he tries to use words that people hear, but he uses them in the wrong context, like nobody's going to pick that up. No, Good Samaritan laws don't force people who are standing by to help. Good Samaritan laws protect Good Samaritans who do choose to help.
Make a law for people like you out there who say, oh, this is nobody's business, all right? Like, think about that for a second.
Yeah, think
have
about
some
that.
empathy, have some compassion for your fellow human beings. We don't need to watch somebody self-destruct in front of us and not say anything.
Again, he wants us to not watch somebody self-destruct, and that we, if we are really good people, will stand up and say something. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I've been following the Rewired Soul for some time now, and I have noticed over the last 6 months the amount of good Samaritans who are coming out, who are saying things, who are pointing out the dangers and the damage that he does, not just to other people, but to himself. We've watched his recovery really falter. We've watched him really struggle. And when people see that, other people like me in recovery who have reached out, who have said, hey, it looks like you're struggling, I'm offering my support and help, he says, mind your own business. So here's the confusing part. He wants other people to support him when he gets involved in other people's recovery. But God forbid somebody does that to him. He says, mind your own business. Again, hypocrisy at its finest.
But, like I mentioned in the intro of this video, so many people are so ignorant when it comes to mental health and addiction, and just ignorant that all that means is a lack of knowledge. And this is so
I will give him credit there. For once, he used a word in correct context.
So troubling. Like, I made that video, I made a tweet about it, and Taylor Nicole Dean
changes my entire life, but also hangs out with one new guy, people. She is sicker than ever. So, before we hear what he has to say about it, here's what I have to say. Look, from all the comments and stuff I've read, what I've gathered, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please, because as I said, I know nothing about Taylor Nicole Dean. But if she's as far as I know, she has 30 days clean, right? And she's dating some guy she met in rehab. Okay, well, I don't know about you, but I guarantee you if I put a poll up and I asked people how many people had relationships with somebody in rehab, it would be pretty high. The fact is that when we first get clean, we're looking to fill a void. We're looking to try and make ourselves feel better. We haven't really learned how recovery can do that in itself, right? So here's the thing. If you get off drugs, if you're making all these other changes, but right now you're using a man or a woman to fill that void, if you're not doing it in a dangerous way, look, you'll grow in recovery. Nobody's perfect in recovery right when they start. And look, I understand the criticism against getting a boyfriend right when you start recovery. That is never recommended. But people should be celebrating the fact if she's really doing as well as she says, and she's really working hard on recovery, are we really going to put her down for choosing to have a boyfriend as opposed to really celebrating the good that she has done for herself? It's about motivating somebody to want to do better. If we show some, like, hey, you're doing a great job here, you're doing a great job here, people are more likely to want to make more positive changes. But if people spend a whole lot of time making positive changes and they're working really hard on themselves and they were like, well, that's all great, but you didn't change this thing, how likely are they to want to continue to change in a positive way?
saw it, and she replied, and she got sassy. Like, you guys, oh my God. Like, first off, it's somebody newly in recovery.
I just want to point out something, which I don't know if he's going to repeat it, but I have to say it now. He said that he replied to her comment, right, on Twitter, and she replied with something sassy. Well, I implore any of you to go check out the Rewired Soul's comments on any of his videos. First off, he very rarely actually even replies to anybody who's not literally like, you're amazing, you're the best. But if he does, if he only replies to criticism with sass. So someone says, leave her alone. No one asked your opinion. You honestly don't have a place to speak on anyone's issues but your own because you aren't a professional and you haven't met her personally. Stop talking about other people, Mr. Not a Drama Channel. Right? Okay, like, it's not said in the nicest way, but she doesn't say anything mean, and she's right. He's not a professional. He doesn't have any experience besides booking events for a treatment center. So he responds back, I've literally worked with thousands of addicts. What's your experience? Like, come on. Tell me that that's not being sassy. He says that stuff all the time. I literally have screenshots for days of the sassy comments he gives back. He doesn't understand that I know thousands of addicts. I've worked with thousands of addicts also. And I've actually worked with thousands of addicts on a one-on-one basis, not like planning a barbecue and having thousands of addicts attend said barbecue. Like, that's not really what that means. But you don't hear me saying that, because just because I know other people who are in recovery and I've watched the struggles of other people, we only know what people show us. And so I can only use my own experience as a real baseline for what I talk about, because I can give you other people's experience, but it's coming from a third party, right? Like, I'm not living their lives. I don't know what goes on in their heads. I don't know how they're feeling. And so to try and make it seem like you have more experience and that your sass is okay, but if somebody else replies to you sassy, they're wrong. Again, hypocrisy. That should be the word of the day. Or, although I didn't want to say it, but apparently the Rewired Soul thinks it's called hypocrisy. So, there's that.
Like, I don't know if you knew this or not, but drug addicts don't like being told what they should do, okay?
Did we hear that, guys? Let's just make sure that was clear. As he said, drug addicts don't like to be told what they shouldn't do. Again, the Rewired Soul is a great example of this. He's been told things that he probably shouldn't do for a really long time. And you know what he does? He doesn't listen. Why? Because he's a drug addict. You can't say drug addicts don't want to listen and then show people that by not listening. He got some really great suggestions over the last few months that I've been following him on how to make himself more likable. People don't trust him. People don't believe anything he says, and he knows that. And the reason he likes it is because it gets him more views, which means more money. Anybody who thinks he's actually trying to help somebody, I no longer believe that. You can't write a book in a day and then think that that's going to be helpful to somebody. No, it's another way to earn a quick buck. Let's be real. But, taking all that personal stuff aside, he says all the time that nobody has a right to tell him anything and that he knows best. Well, sounds like a drug addict who doesn't like being told no to me.
Again, like I mentioned in the video yesterday, like, do you think any therapist, doctor, counselor, caseworker, anybody in their right mind would say, yeah, Taylor Nicole Dean, I think it's a great idea for you to meet somebody in rehab and start hooking up with them. That's going to work out phenomenally. And the fact is, she is lying to you, okay?
Okay, first of all, do you think any therapist, doctor, counselor, whatever, would tell a girl who's got 30 days clean that she's a terrible person because she's dating some boy? Really? Is that how you would talk to somebody who's new in recovery? Would you meet a newcomer in recovery who's worked their butt off to get 30 days clean and tell them, sounds like you did a lot of work, but you got a girlfriend, you got a boyfriend, so it doesn't seem like you're taking this stuff seriously? Get out of here. Nobody speaks that way. She's got 30 days clean, and this is why most of the comments on the video are leave this poor girl alone, because it's the fact that he's talking like he knows so much. Like, oh yes, everything's going to work out great. Don't you think she has enough to worry about? If her relationship is keeping her on the road to recovery for the moment, then let it go. Who cares? And why does it have anything to do with you? You're so worried about standing up and doing the right thing and helping somebody. But making somebody feel worthless, making somebody feel like they don't matter and that everything they do is wrong is not helping. I don't know how to make it any clearer. And then this is what I don't think he reads it out. So while I happen to pause it perfectly on the screen, it says, haha, no, Chris, we don't. It's literally no one's business. True. Yes, she shared, but we don't need to stick our noses in it. I wouldn't care if he talked about it correctly since I shared it, but he's literally my friend. And then Chris says, you said this before watching the video. What does your therapist and her sponsor think about your relationship? And then she says, they're perfectly fine because the way the relationship actually is, instead of what the internet is speculating it to be. And he's like, she's lying to you. She's lying to you. Probably not. Let's be real. First off, I'm not her therapist. I don't even know her. So I'm not even going to venture to say what her therapist is telling her. And the fact that Chris thinks that it's okay to do so is just a little bit disgusting. However, it is very possible that her therapist or sponsor or whatever is telling her that if it's keeping her happy right now, if she's not making bad choices, if she's working on her recovery, then that's not something she really needs to worry about for the moment. See, recovery sometimes is about the process. It's about progress, not perfection. So sometimes we have to make little changes until we're ready to make the bigger ones. If she's in a relationship that with somebody that her therapist and sponsor and someone knows, and they think that there's not harm being done at the time, they may very well be telling her that that's something that she can work on later while she's working on getting clean, getting another day off drugs. Do you really think that them telling her to leave this guy that she likes is going to be helpful in her recovery right now? No. If anything, that may trigger her to use. So it is very likely that her therapist and her counselors or whatever are co-signing this. I doubt that they're saying, this is great, let's plan your wedding, let's go buy a dress, No. They're probably just looking at it as a harm reduction and saying, you know what, if this is keeping her on the path to recovery right now, then we'll address it as it becomes an issue. But to think that you have any more knowledge about her therapist or her counselor than anybody else is really kind of gross.
Like, I hate to say that, but to put out there that her doctors and everybody thinks that this is okay is a blatant lie, because nobody who works in this field would ever say that in a million years, okay? But the
First off, do you see how he's smiling and smirking and putting people down? That's the thing that gets most people about him. That condescending thing. Nobody would say that in a million years. Like, he's talking down to a girl who's got 30 days clean. What kind of recovery program are you working that you're going to shame a girl who has 30 days clean? That's not recovery. And you have no idea what her counselors or doctors would say to her. And you can't say nobody in the field would say that because you're not in the field. So you have no idea. You're not any more in the field than I am. And I would never tell somebody that I knew what to do. I have plenty of sponsees or women I've worked with early in recovery who decide to start dating. And you know what? As long as the relationship is based on healthy patterns and they're putting recovery first, I'm not going to shame them into making those decisions. Because you know what? Usually those things have a way of working themselves out. Is it keeping her from using drugs? Well, then maybe it's a good choice. Who the heck are you to decide that? You don't know anything about her, or her doctors, or her therapist, or her program. So to make that snarky comment and smirk while you're putting down a girl with 30 days makes me wonder whether you have any experience working with recovering addicts.
Is that so many of you are co-signing her BS. Like, I don't know if you knew this or not, but the opioid epidemic in the United States is real. We have tens of thousands of people dying each and every single year because of this disease, all right?
Yes.
And it's so important. Like, I speak from personal experience. One of the reasons that I relapse so many times, one of the reasons that so many other people relapse so many times is because we lack humility, right? We keep wanting to do things our own way, okay?
Okay, I just want to be sure that you guys heard that. Did you hear that? One of the things that leads to relapse is when someone doesn't have humility, when we think that our way is the only way. Who does that sound like?
take back self-will. Self-will is I'm doing what I want to do. But listen, when it comes to drug addiction, clearly we don't know what we should be doing. And that is one of the reasons why it's so important to humble yourself and listen to others. But the issue is,
that is why it is so important to humble yourself and listen to others. This is exactly why people were so worried about the rewired soul, is because he has no humility. He's not been able to humble himself and listen to others. And it's why many have been worried about his recovery program for a long time. I mean, he seems to be doing a bit better lately, so that's a positive thing. But what bothers me so much is that you see the way that he's ripping apart the recovery of somebody with 30 days. But the criticisms that he's using are criticisms that have been used against him. So is he really that blind to see that that his character defects are the same things that he's accusing other people of? Or does he purposely say these things to hope that the controversy gets him more views? I'm not really sure.
and it's so difficult. Like, I wish the best for Taylor Nicole Dean. I hope she makes it through this. All right, like there is no guarantee that this is going to lead to a relapse, but it raises the chances of it happening. So I hope if or even when this thing goes south, that she stays clean. But the problem.
Let me point out something he's saying that is true. Being in a relationship in early recovery can absolutely increase your chances of relapse, right? That is 100% true. The reason why is because you're using the relationship to fill the void that getting off drugs leaves, right? So you put a lot of stock into this relationship to help fix your feelings, to have fun, to make you feel good, both about yourself, about life. And if something happens and that relationship ends, you're left with the same void you were left with when you first stopped using drugs. So when you don't know how to fix it, you can go right back to the drugs. And there's a lot of reasons why relationships in early recovery are very dangerous. And he's 100% right on that. I think the reason that this bothered me so much is it's a matter about handling it carefully. You support the girl in her relationship and remind her that if something happens, you're there for her. If something happens, you have a place to go. You have people to talk to. You keep recovery being the most attractive thing in her life. So if something happens, she has a place to turn to. You don't shame her, because by shaming her actions, all you're going to do is push her out of the recovery community. Then if something does happen with this relationship, do you think she's going to go to the recovery community, or do you think she may turn to drugs? That's what they say what bothered me when you said, we don't have the power. I don't have that power. Well, if you shame somebody out of recovery, you kind of do have that power, don't you? As opposed to making a video saying, if the Rewired Soul video was set like, look, this is why having a relationship in early recovery can be dangerous, and this is how we can support somebody who's making that decision, it would be totally different. But that's not what this video was. This video was shaming her. And to shame somebody with 30 days clean is the opposite of what somebody who is actually working a recovery program would ever do.
The problem is we need to take suggestions from other people. And the problem is that...
I'm just going to say this, Chris. When was the last time you took suggestions from other people?
When you're in the public spotlight, like Taylor Nicole Dean is, we have a bunch of people out there, a bunch of stands, if you will, who are enabling. And it is just so sad.
That was exactly what a lot of us had been saying about the Rewired Soul for a long time, is that he has a lot of stands. And they enable him in a way that is very dangerous. He only reads the comments of those who tell him how awesome he is and how amazing he is. If you ignore anything but positive praise, first of all, you're not growing as a person anymore. And second of all, that's dangerous. Anybody in recovery can tell you that when you only listen to positive comments that are coming in, and you pay attention to, I'm not talking about the hate comments, I'm talking about the criticism, the real thoughts from other people in recovery who are saying like, hey, maybe that's not really a great way to look at something. And you either get this whole sass comment back, or you say nothing. That's dangerous. And people have been telling the Rewired Soul this for months now. He's just unwilling to to see outside himself.
Right? Like, so many people are like, just leave her alone. Just, you don't know anything. Just right? Like, listen, you don't have to personally be somebody's doctor to say, hey, you should probably take some cold medicine if you have a cold. Like, addiction is...
No, you don't have to be somebody's doctor to tell them to take cold medicine if they may have a cold. But you also don't know that maybe that person is allergic to one of the ingredients in the cold medicine. And you giving them a suggestion that you think is totally normal, like taking cold medicine, could cause them to have an allergic reaction and wind up in the hospital. You can't, recovery is not one size fits all. And although you can make suggestions based on your experience, you can't tell somebody the right thing to do because that's what worked for you. Recovery doesn't work that way. And I guess I figured somebody with so much experience, like he says he's had, would understand that.
Addiction is addiction. I've been doing this for 7 years, okay? I was actually reading a book not too long ago about how we're living in this crazy time where everybody thinks that their opinion is so valid even though they know nothing about the subject. Like,
okay, again, I'm sorry. I am so incredibly amused. Everybody thinks that they should give their opinion and that their opinion is valid even though they have no experience on the topic, right? This is what, when one of my last videos, which I'll leave in the card, I don't know what side it's on, for you to watch, but he has talked about subjects like Suboxone maintenance, like maintenance medications for opioid addicts, and he has no experience on them. He has no knowledge on them. Yet he tries to tell people what they should do based on his opinion. And his opinion is based on no information. In fact, I know it is because I read the information that he had, which he misinterpreted. He wasn't really sure how to read it. And look, I'm not trying to put him down about that because, look, scientific studies and peer-reviewed journal articles are very difficult to read. And if you're not comfortable with that level of reading, I can understand how you can misunderstand the purpose, right? And I did send him other information that showed like where he was mistaken, but again, they were peer-reviewed journal articles, and I don't know his level of comprehension when it comes to reading. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying that things like peer-reviewed journal articles can be very difficult to understand, and perhaps his reasoning for being so confused on the topic is he's just not able to understand the literature written. I'm not sure, but either way, when it was pointed out to him that he was giving really dangerous wrong information on maintenance medications, he pretty much his comeback was, my opinion's more valid than anybody else's. Because, and that was it. So again, with the hypocrisy, I so wish that he could see himself through the eyes of other people, because he really does have a lot to offer people. He has the experience in recovery. He has an audience who's going to listen to him. If only he could actually be helpful for people in recovery. I've seen the damage that this kind of bullying does. I mean, really, it's bullying. And I just wish he would be more loving and opening and welcoming to people in recovery instead of judging people and shaming them and bullying them out of the process.
I asked a few people on Twitter yesterday, I'm like, are you in addiction recovery? And they're like, well, no. So why do you think, what crosses your mind to make you think that you would know better than somebody who has been clean for a while? Like, if you check the comments of the video yesterday, there are plenty of people in recovery who are like, oh man, this is a bad idea. So the thing is, it's like, and here's a problem with stan culture and people in the public spotlight who are trying to overcome, an addiction or even a mental illness or whatever it is. People would rather appease the celebrity, appease that person, than tell them what they need to hear.
Yes, and I've seen that a lot with the Rewired Soul. Although he's not a celebrity, I have seen a lot of people say what they think he wants to hear, as opposed to the hard truths he may need to hear. Part of being in recovery, and as he said, good Samaritans, right? We're supposed to help each other in recovery. We're supposed to call each other out when we do something wrong and help each other when we need help. It's so hard to watch when he becomes so closed off to anything that is remotely close to criticism. All he wants is somebody to pat him on the shoulder and be like, you're always right. That's dangerous in recovery. And you know how I know that? He said it. He said it over and over again about how dangerous it is to not be humble, to not accept help from other people, and to only see the positive. He keeps telling us that, but yet he's unwilling to do the same thing. He's deflecting his own defects onto other people. He would rather get on somebody else for all that they're doing wrong instead of take a look at himself. It's often, I mean, it happens, right? Those of us in recovery do that often, right? I would much rather talk about your problems than talk about my own. That's just, it's a defense mechanism. But seeing somebody come out all the time talking about how other people are doing the wrong thing while he's doing the wrong thing is, if he didn't have an audience of recovering addicts, I wouldn't care. Let him self-destruct and do his own thing. I can't fix him, right? I have tried so many times to open his mind, to show him real recovery, but I worry about those who don't know better, who watch him, who think that it's okay to bully somebody who's got 30 days clean because they're not doing the things you want them to do. That's what bothers me.
They just want to be yes men. Like, you guys, when it comes to addiction, yes men will kill you.
I think he's going to say a few more things about this, so we'll get on it, but I want you to remember what he just said. Yes men will kill you.
Okay, let me repeat that for the people in the back.
Good.
When it comes to addiction, yes men will kill you, okay?
Let's repeat it again so that you really are hearing it. As he says, yes men will kill you. It's very serious.
I speak from experience. When I was in my active addiction, this is why I'm so passionate about this. In my active addiction, I had a bunch of yes people around me, right? All the people who loved me and cared at me, like, they actually gave a crap, wanted me to get better, and they told me a bunch of things that I didn't want to hear. I removed them from my life. And I kept a bunch of people around me that said, yeah, Chris, just do this. Yeah, Chris, you should do that. And, like, keep drinking, keep using, right?
I want you to understand what he's saying, and this is why I have often been very concerned for the Rewired Soul's recovery, is he says it over and over again, yes, men will kill you, and that he pushed away anybody in his life who was giving him any kind of criticism, and only keeping those in his life that told him what he wanted to hear. This is exactly how we see the Rewired Soul interacting with people online. He only surrounds himself with yes men, which, as he says, could kill him, right? He pushes away anybody who has any kind of criticism. He refuses to have any type of real dialogue. And the few times I thought maybe I reached him in some sort of way, he just says that he understands and moves forward and does the same thing. Like, I hate watching people in recovery struggle. And I would never venture to guess on what somebody's doing in their time, right? Like, I can't tell you, like, oh, I don't think he's got 7 years. He's probably relapsed based on behavior, right? Like, those are not things I would ever say, right? I would only point out the actions that someone's taking that are generally relapse type behavior as a way that we can all be mindful for ourselves, right? I never judge another person's recovery, and I never tell somebody else what they should do with their recovery. I just wanted to be very clear that we often, even at 6.5 years in recovery, I can often push away those people who are giving me criticism that I don't want to hear. It's so much easier to surround ourselves with people who tell us we're doing everything right. I don't want to be told I'm doing something wrong. Nobody does. And addicts tend to react very negatively to that. So he's right. Yes, men are deadly. If we only surround ourselves with people who tell us what we want to hear and ignore the people who tell us what we need to hear, we're on a dangerous path. And that's why I started doing these videos on the Rewired Soul to begin with, because I saw him surrounding himself with only yes men. I was watching him ignore the criticism that really could have helped him grow. And it became very worrisome to watch somebody who's an example of recovery no longer leading a life of recovery. That's what got me started on this to begin with.
Even allowed to see my son, and I kept people around who told me it was a good idea to keep going out and partying. Like, what? So when I got clean,
just because your yes men are no longer telling you that you should go out and party, but if they're telling you that you should do destructive behaviors, that's still a problem. So the yes men in his life may not be saying, hey, you should go out and use. Yeah, it's a great idea. But if people are saying, like, yes, you should shame girls on the internet. Yes, you should be a bully. Yes, you should. That's a problem.
Get rid of all those people. I will always say this, something that I learned, and I hope a lot of you learn as well, is we need to keep people around who tell us what we need to hear and not what we want to hear.
We need to keep people around who tell us what we need to hear and not what we want to hear. This is one of the reasons why on my own channel, I respond to every single comment, even if it's hateful, because I really want to know where someone's coming from, because I believe in growing and learning through my recovery every single day. I don't ever feel like I've reached the point where I know more than anybody else. A person who's really working a recovery program would never get to that point. I can help you with my experience, but there's a lot of things I don't know. That's why I like communicating with others who are in recovery. That's why I watch other recovery channels on YouTube. There's a lot that I follow, and I don't always agree with everything that they say, but that's okay because it's how we learn. We have to constantly reevaluate our own belief systems. But if we're only taking in the information that reaffirms that we're doing everything right, we're in trouble.
Okay, and that's what baffles me when you're sitting there and you're watching somebody like Taylor Nicole Dean make these bad decisions in her recovery, right? Like, how are you sitting there and saying, okay, kept dating this dude, relapsed, went back to treatment, went back to treatment, just got out, and now all of you think that this woman has everything figured out and she knows what's best for her.
Look, I don't think anybody thinks that this woman's got everything figured out or knows what's best with her. I'm sure she needs a lot of work. Again, from everything I've seen on social media, she's got like 30 days clean. I don't know anybody that's got anything even close to figured out at 30 days clean. It's about attraction, not promotion, right? We can tell people all day long that they should get clean, but it's not going to do much. But if we can show them that recovery is an attractive thing, that like, look, I live a better life now that I'm not using drugs. When I make better choices, better things happen. We lead by example. We don't shame people. By putting people down, especially people in the public light, by putting them down and saying, like, look, all you capable of is making bad decisions. You can't possibly know what's right. You are no good at doing anything. Why would that person want to get clean? Why would they want to try? If they feel like everybody's looking at them like they're already a failure and that they're incapable of doing anything right, why would you want to change? That's why it's so important when people have 30 days clean and like small amounts of time that we love up on them, that we tell them that we're here for them, that we're proud of the progress they're making. Nobody is going to have their shit figured out 30 days clean. It's not going to happen. Nobody. I don't know a single person, and nobody in recovery will say that either. So, yes, people who don't know about recovery may not understand, but we shouldn't be there saying, like, no, you don't understand recovery. She's got 30 days clean. She's still a hot mess. Because that's not helpful. We can explain how 30 days and, how early recovery works. But again, why are we shaming somebody who's got 30 days clean? I'm sure she's shamed enough. Let's celebrate the things she's doing right. Let's celebrate the little progresses she's making so she's inspired to make more.
It takes years for us to get back on track, okay? Like, not only do we have a lot of work to do, like, we need to figure out why. Why do we feel the need to have somebody? Why do we feel the need to, like, get somebody in our life who's going to show us love and affection and all these things so early in recovery, when most of the time we don't even know how to love ourselves yet? Why is that? It takes.
That's exactly why people get in relationships in early recovery. Because most of the time we don't love ourselves. We can't be that loving force for ourselves. So we look outside of ourselves for it. Not everybody gets in a relationship, but it is so common in early recovery to try and fill that void that drugs left. When we stop using drugs, there's a void there. We don't have that one instant fix to make us feel better. I'm tired, I take a pill. I'm stressed out, I, smoke some pot, whatever. We don't have that go-to. So by having a relationship, it fills that void. We can feel again in a different way. You know, some people start shopping like crazy. Other people start having random sex, right? Like we all in early recovery grab onto something. What recovery does is recovery teaches us that we don't need these outside forces to make ourselves feel okay. And that, yes, as Chris was saying, we can learn how to feel okay on our own. And yes, that does take time, but nobody's perfect. And if her getting outside love, and again, I don't know anything about her. I don't know anything about the boy. I have no idea what he's talking about in reference to any of it. I'm just talking about the things I would say to somebody knowing that they had 30 days clean. And that's it, right? Is having a boyfriend at 30 days clean your best bet? Of course not, right? But it's so normal. That's such a normal thing because it fills the void. And you know what? If she's having a relationship with one man as opposed to using her void filling thing to be having random unprotected sex with lots of people, well then it's still better, right? Is it better? Would you say that being in a relationship is better than starting to gamble all her money away or shopping for things she doesn't need, right? Like how do we judge which is better or worse? None of them are great ideas, but it's about little steps forward. And I just don't get the need to shame somebody in early recovery, right? We show by example, we teach things, we help people. Like, why are we shaming a girl with 30 days clean? I just can't understand that.
To figure these things out. And if you want me to break down some science on that, bud,
Here we go.
like it takes months, sometimes even years, for just the brain to balance out. Like in early recovery, we are hot messes. And one of the last things I want to say about that is a lot of people are like, were like commenting and saying, oh, I've been watching her Instagram stories and everything like that, and she seems like she's manic, or maybe she's getting loaded again, or whatever. Like, I don't like accusing people of relapsing, okay? But I just want you guys to understand, like, for a lot of us, like, when you take the drugs and alcohol away from us, we act crazy as hell.
Look, and I think that that's really a good point. Yes, when you take the drugs away, addicts will act differently because they're not taking drugs anymore. And he's 100% right, especially for opioid users. Opiates really damage the brain. There is a lot of scientific studies on it. In fact, I think the studies he's referring to are probably the ones I sent him when he was doing his Suboxone video. Um, but yeah, they do damage the brain, and it does take some time for the brain chemistry to fix itself and for you to repair. And while that's happening, it can be very difficult on a person. And yeah, we don't have self-love. We don't have those things that we need. But to say to somebody that the only way that they're going to stay clean and successful is to do everything right from the beginning, it's just not true. There's always going to be people giving suggestions, but there's a reason that we give suggestions based on our experience and not tell somebody what to do.
Right? Especially like somebody like myself, like my drug of choice too was opioids. Like that kept me chill. That kept me calm. Like a lot of people are like, oh, Chris, you're so hyper and you have so much energy. It's because I'm not taking depressant drugs anymore. Oh,
Just as like a total side note, it's funny because I had the exact opposite with opiates. I used opiates because they made me more awake and they made me more able to do stuff. Like I was like the queen of cleaning the house when I was on opiates. I could clean the house like better than anybody. I used opiates because they made me motivated to do stuff. I was way more up, way more outgoing and stuff when I was on opiates. Except at the end when they stopped doing that for me, and then they were making me more tired and more lethargic. And very shortly after that is when I chose to get help because I realized I had a problem. But it always amazes me how different drugs react completely differently to different people. So
okay, so in early recovery, it's quite common for people to have a lot of ups and downs. For example, you might have heard of the pink cloud. Many people, when they first get sober, they experience the pink cloud, right? Where they think everything is just like amazing and they just want to scream it from the rooftops like, oh my God, I'm sober and nothing could stop me now and everything like that. But when people say this too shall pass, they only say it during the bad things. I try to remember and also remind like clients who I teach this stuff, like this too shall pass also applies to the good things.
all right, don't be a dick. I mean, yes, yes, good things don't last forever, But can you imagine being like really, really happy about something and being like super ecstatic and have someone be like, well, that feeling's not going to last long. Like, go away. Let somebody enjoy. If you're on the pink cloud and you're enjoying early recovery and you're happy about things that are coming, look, that's when you get somebody's recovery program strengthened. So when that feeling goes away or things start to get harder in life, they know where to come. They know what to do. But my God, what a Debbie Downer. Who would do that? Who would be like, hey, just so you know, those happy feelings are going to pass. You're not going to feel that way forever. Why? The reason we hear this too shall pass only with negative stuff is because people are trying to get through the negative stuff and come out the other side. People aren't stressed about being in happy times. Why would you do that to somebody? Oh, glad to hear you're happy. Be ready, it's not going to last. Like, I'm sorry. I just don't understand the purpose of that.
As well. So we need to keep a level head. We need to realize that life is going to happen eventually. Now, that doesn't mean that we should be pessimistic and worry about the future, because future tripping doesn't help either. But we need to know, like, we have to keep working on our recovery. Like, I just want to leave you guys with this, okay? If Taylor Nicole Dean was talking about recovery half as much as she was talking about this new dude, things would be a lot different.
All right, I can agree with him on there. If when you're in early recovery, if your focus is really, really ingrained in recovery, you probably will do better more quickly than if recovery is kind of like something on the back burner and a guy has become like or anything really has become your obsession. Like he is right on that. I think it's more a matter about how we handle the topics, right? Like one-on-one, you can really do a lot of good with somebody. And if somebody's feeling it, I don't know about anybody else, but most addicts I know, if you tell them they can't do something, that's when they want to do it. I think a lot of people are like that. Like I heard somebody say yesterday, somebody in recovery, and they were talking about how they had to have like their cervix and like everything removed because of cancer, and she had said, I was done having kids. I didn't want any more. Except as soon as they took everything out, I was sad that I couldn't have kids and I wanted them. Right? Like there's something about when we can't have something that we want it more. So I I understand the whole void filling thing. I think we just have to be really careful that when we're talking to people who are early in recovery, we're doing so in a loving and supportive way. I just hate seeing this like put down on people and trying to prove a point by showing that you know more about recovery than some girl with 30 days clean. Like, I sure hope you know more about recovery than somebody with 30 days clean. But we don't show that by putting them down.
I want you guys to think about that, because that's one of the primary reasons we say not to get in a relationship the first year, because what people often do is they swap out their recovery program with him or her, and it doesn't work out, all right? Because we have a lot of work to do to figure out why we drink and use, and we have to figure out how to not turn to drugs or alcohol when life happens.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it there because it sounds like he's just wrapping up. And really, the end points I agree with. I mean, 100% agree with the last couple of things he said. Overall, here's what my takeaway is I wish he could address these topics in a more helpful way. Putting down people, especially when you're typing in Taylor Nicole Dean in all your tags. Your tags are not about helping the newcomer in recovery. Your tags are not about helping those with mental health issues. Your tags are showing that you just want people who are interested in the Taylor Nicole Dean drama to come watch your video. And when you talk in this way where you're being purposely antagonistic, you know you're going to get more engagement on the video. You're going to get more views. You're going to get more comments, right? And then it gives you an opportunity to do what it looks like you did today, which is upload another video on the topic that says, maybe I shouldn't have spoken that way. I just want to make sure that people who are in early recovery understand that judgment shouldn't be a part of it. We judge ourselves harshly enough, and it's a process, right? It's all about getting better one day at a time. We're not going to instantly be perfect people, and we're going to make mistakes in recovery. Some mistakes are bigger than others, but you know what? Picking apart what somebody's doing wrong in recovery instead of helping them do better, I just I get the idea that we don't want to co-sign something that's wrong, right? Like if we see somebody hurting themselves, we don't want to tell them it's okay if we know it's causing damage, right? But we also don't want to bully somebody. With, the Rewired Soul brought up stand culture a lot. And up until his drama a few months back, I didn't know anybody who had more stands than he did. I've seen the hurt that his followers were causing on other people just because he didn't like them or he said something. They came at him and like at other people. Like he I hate to say it, but like when all that drama went down with him, he kind of got a taste of his own medicine and it clearly, impacted him. But sometimes like that happens to us in recovery, right? Like something happens and we don't expect it to be a jarring experience for us. And when that happens, we get to take that lesson that life has given us and learn something from it. Or we can allow it to destroy us. We need to be there for people in early recovery. We need to show them a good example of what recovery is. But I'll tell you this, and this is my point of the whole thing. If my example of if the only person I knew that was in recovery was harsh and negative and bullying and shameful and talked down to me like they were so much better than me, when I needed help, I would never go to that person. We should make ourselves be open and loving and caring and kind. So when people need help, they feel comfortable coming to us. There's enough problems with the opioid epidemic in this country, in the world. Those of us who've been through this addiction should be wanting to help other people, not stand on their backs so we can make ourselves be higher up the ranks. I don't know. I'm not usually this harsh, but felt like it was necessary. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's obviously going to be a bit longer than my normal ones. And I don't know, I thought maybe doing some type of video commentary like that may be helpful in the future, especially when we talk about other videos where I think they do a really good job of explaining different aspects of addiction and recovery. So let me know if you like this type of format. Let me know if you have any thoughts on other people's videos that I should check out. I know I have a few that you guys have already sent that I'm looking into. And I really hope you guys are having a really great weekend. Again, let's be loving and welcoming to others in recovery. We don't need to put people down to lift ourselves up, you know? If you don't already know, my Twitter and my Instagram are both according to Jexy. You can follow me there. I do a lot of updates on Twitter. I'm not on Instagram as much, but Twitter's a great way to follow me. I would like to say a huge thank you to my patrons. I would not be able to continue doing this without your support. If you're interested in joining my Patreon, you can find the link down below. It just really helps support my channel and gives me the opportunity to really promote recovery in a more in a bigger way. So thank you guys all so much. If you like this video, please leave a like on your way out. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.